Hello and welcome to this online panel where we discuss women leading transformation in telecoms as part of TelecomTV's Perspective series, where we look at the culture within the industry. My name is Charlotte Kahn and I will be your host. Joining me today are a formidable bunch of women who are driving forces in their field. So it's with great pleasure that I would like to welcome Beth Cohen, DMTS, NFV SDN Network Product Strategy at Verizon. Dr. Chih-Lin, Chief Scientist, Wireless Technologies at China Mobile. Eugina Jordan, Vice President of Marketing at Parallel Wireless. And Susan James, Senior Director, Telecommunications Strategy at Red Hat. Now, Beth, I'd like to start with you. You have been a pioneer and a leader in the telecoms industry, starting with your work at BBN, the real inventors of the internet. And you have been very active in the OpenStack community. You have co-written the OpenStack Architecture Design Guide, and you have collaborated with other infrastructure architects in the OpenStack Foundation's Edge Computing Workgroup in order to develop the requirements for building tools to support Edge. And Beth, most recently, you have been working on the LFN's Anuket project, which is creating reference infrastructure architectures for the support of virtualized networking workloads. So, Beth, how does it feel to be co-creating the future of our industry? And also, what excites you the most about these projects?
Wow, it sounds so impressive when when you read it back.
It is.
What I'll say is my career has, and not on purpose, but it seems like I've always ended up being on the leading and I should say bleeding edge of technology. Actually started work as a architect, as in like a building architect, and brought CAD, computer-aided design, into that industry, and then moved on and I ended up working for Bolt Brennick and Newman, or BBN, running the Advanced Networking Lab. So it was actually, just I keep looking back and I say, wow, seems like old hat when I'm working on this stuff. But then I look back and I say, wow, I was doing that 10 years ago. So it's super cool. What can I say?
Well, very cool indeed. Thank you. Now, Eugina, let's move on to you. You entered the telecom industry 21 years ago, holding 2 degrees, and you took a position as a receptionist because that's all that was available to you. So from there, you rose to the C-level because you worked hard, you played fair, you invested in learning, and you relied on courage. Your words, I imagine. Now, do you feel that you did more than your peers maybe might have done in order to rise through the ranks to get to that executive level?
That is such a great question. So because I'm Eastern European, hard work is in my blood. So being a hard worker never changes. What I think has changed throughout my career is the type of hard work. Early on, when I just moved to the States, I had to learn the American culture, the technology, because I'm not an engineer. I have a computer undergrad. As my career progressed, and the opportunities, just like Beth was saying, were given to me, I had to learn and work hard in different areas. How to be an influential leader, communication styles. And now at Parallel Wireless, as a C-level executive, as a part of the executive team, I still work hard to ensure the company grows. We make the right strategic decisions. And as a marketing leader, my hard work is now around my team, make sure that they find success, they realize their full potential. So hard work is always there, it just changes.
Now, Susan, you have a similar story, haven't you? I mean, you started as a receptionist too.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it? So, yes, I started as a receptionist in Brisbane, Australia, actually. Absolutely, it takes a lot of hard work. And I think, but one of the other things is I think you need to be brave and, take the opportunities and, even if you're not 100% confident that, you're 100% ready for it, that you just need to grab those opportunities when they come, because I don't think that they come as often. I would say the other thing is that, you need to be lucky. You do need to work hard, and you absolutely need to invest in your knowledge, and that will be different at different points in time. But that sort of continuous learning, I think, is really important.
Yeah, but it sounds that you are all very much driven by passion. Talking of which, Dr. E, you have a great passion for green and environmentally sustainable technologies. You developed the Green Communications Research Center at China Mobile, and you're also doing extensive work on high energy efficiency system architectures, technologies and devices. You're also working on advanced R&D for 5G, green energy, power and carbon reduction. So how are you leveraging your platform as an industry leader to influence your peers to make this a priority within their own companies? And is it challenging as a female leader to make your voice heard and drive that change?
Thank you for the question. Definitely, I think green is a global consensus as it's very important for the fundamental issue of sustainability of our society. And the way that we have to think about the green technology, I think, needs to be at multiple layers and levels. So our work actually span across from material to device to equipment to base stations to networks and eventually to cross networks. And we managed to bring the fruit of our labors into the core design concept of the 5G standards. But we have continuously improved its energy efficiency with improvement not only in the enhancement in the standard design, but also in the hardware technology and software technology. And in terms of, I think, voice being heard and impacting and influencing peers in our ecosystem, I think I have been blessed in terms of the opportunities across. For example, in IEEE, I was the founding vice chair for the technical committee on green communication and networking. The recent Internet Governance Forum, where there is a special feature topic on mobile internet and the environment in the 5G era. And there were 4 keynote speakers. I would say not only I was the only female again, but I was the opening keynote speaker among the 4 keynote speakers. So I think as the other distinguished panelists had indicated, I think in general, in terms of diversity and inclusion consideration in our community, is continuously improving. But it's not to say there is still room for more improvement, of course.
Absolutely. Now, ladies, it's pretty clear that you all have very established careers in the telecoms industry. I'd like to know, how has the field changed since you entered, since you started? And what, as a leader, are you doing to make it better, as in more accessible and more diverse? Let's start with Eugina.
Oh, this question is really dear to my heart, because what I do as a leader and as an immigrant woman, I sponsor females, I mentor females. I'm about to kick off 2 mentorship programs because I want to help other females in the industry to realize their full potential. The change that I see, and I know we were talking before the panel started, I think pandemic brought up so many issues, not just in the lack of females in our industry, but the lack of diversity. And the change that I see is people no longer talking, but they're taking action. Action in sponsoring, action in mentoring, action in creating the pipeline to bring more females and more diversity talent into our industry. And that is wonderful. It is so encouraging. And I'm so glad that I'm part of it and I can empower other females in the industry. So in 20 years, instead of having only 7% of females in telecom in the C-suite, we're going to have 25.
Dr. E now, tell us about how much you feel the industry has changed since you joined and how you inspire other female leaders out there.
First, undergraduate, of course, I was studying Taiwan, and in my department, the electronic engineering, I think we had 60 plus classmates in the class, but I was the one and only female in the class. And I think when I came to this country to study, particularly in Stanford, the ratio improved somewhat, not maybe much more in the software field, in computer science. But in EE, we were still like extreme minority. And I remember there was a very interesting phrase at that time that I saw, I never forgot in my Stanford era, which is, as a woman, you must work and do twice as good as a man, but then you will finally get recognized half as good as a man. Today, this panel is a very good case in point. We see all these marvelous leaders in our industry. And I think it's very important to look out for the potential outstanding women leaders in our team. But of course, you need to make sure it's fair.
Now, Beth, do you want to follow up on what Dr. Yi was saying?
There's been huge changes in the industry. I've been in the industry for a long time. But I think what Dr. Yi brings up, which is super important, is the mentorship and the pipeline and the support for people as they move up in the industry. I mean, I didn't have that because there were no women that I could really look up to, because there was no women in senior level positions at the time. So and so I didn't have any mentorship, and I didn't have any support as I moved through my career, up through my career, and so I probably made some mistakes along the way simply because I just didn't know. And I think it's so important to create that supportive environment to bring people up in their careers and identify people as being high potential and then supporting them. The industry unfortunately does have a pretty high drop rate of people that are coming out of the STEM programs, women and minorities coming out of the STEM programs and not staying with them, staying in the career tracks because they don't get that support. And the good news is, one of the things that has attracted me to Verizon is that Verizon has a very, very strong system to support, women and minorities and move them into the higher career tracks. So, I think we're moving in the right direction, which is the good news.
Well, that's encouraging. Now, Susan, tell us about the importance of role models. Is that something you've benefited from?
Well, absolutely. I think I was reflecting. I was one of the first women that I saw completely controlling the room and running the meetings was in China. So, I was there as a support staff to the local sales team there, and that was really inspirational to me. That here was this fabulous woman, and I think there was probably 40 people in the room, and she was the one that was ruling the show. And I think that having that visibility is really, really important as inspiration, so you can do it. When we came out of university, I really felt like, they trained me to be a CEO, but the likelihood of me ever getting there was pretty much non-existent. I don't feel that way anymore. But I would say one of the other things is that, like Beth, I had no mentors. I mean, I was lucky with a couple of managers that certainly gave me a different perspective about myself. But I think one of the things that helped me the most was actually being a mentor for others. Because as much as we'd like to think it's a meritocracy, we're not quite there. So how do you create that environment where you can be successful?
Now, what I would like to do is to dive into the technology in which you women are leaders, because we haven't really touched upon that yet. Dr. E, you talk about the future of 6G and how we will have digital twins of ourselves with our senses like hearing, sight, or even touch being amplified by technology and devices. Now, do you have concerns about us going maybe a bit too far as a society with regard to our dependency on technology? And do we need to carefully think through these trends? And if so, why?
Thank you, Charlotte. Actually, yes, indeed, 6G, we've come a long way. I started from 1G and then voila, we are in 6G era now. I think my motto is rethink fundamentals, and my key theme would center from green to soft to open and to smart. Okay, and really, I think from 4G to 5G, we have witnessed the true ICT convergence, which I think some of you may have remember. ICT convergence was a thing even in the 80s and 90s, but it was never really happening. But from 4G to 5G, as we said that we have to make C-RAN an essential starting point for 5G, and I think we have succeeded in doing that. IT technology and city technology are truly going through a convergence period. And then going from 5G to 6G, I believe is going to add yet another element, which is the data technology. So it's ICDT convergence, and it's a deep convergence. There's a lot of opportunity and the challenges for sure. And that's also part of the reason why we launched the O-RAN Alliance a few years back, where right now I'm the founding technical steering committee chair for O-RAN Alliance and also executive member. I think we are facing at not only a challenge and opportunity to make 5G better and truly fulfill its promises, but also it would be an essential starting point as we march towards 6G. Now, there are a lot of interesting new topics that pops up for 6G, and definitely digital twin is among the top of that list. And digital twins for cars, for equipment, or for factory, or for cities, or even for person. This is really going to be a brand new world in 6G era. It's on the one hand exciting, but it's also, I think, on the other hand, I'm somewhat a bit worrisome. I think we do need to be concerned about at least two aspects. One is definitely the safety, the security, and the privacy and of individuals. And then the other one, it may be my personal bias for a long time as a mother, as a woman, that is, I think we need to make sure that the technology is bringing us new services, new applications that really delivers positive, meaningful, and valuable value to the society. Rather, if you can use this new technology, including for educational purposes, for health purposes, or for many other, I think, much more positive and meaningful society values, that would be something I think we need to look out for.
Absolutely, that's a key topic, really. Now, Beth, at Verizon Business, you architected SDN products, including Verizon's virtual network services, 100% OpenStack, and VNS Application Edge, Verizon's managed Kubernetes services for deploying containerized apps at edge and in public clouds. Now, what was it like leading these business-critical initiatives, and what leadership style worked in order to successfully bring these services to market? How did you do it?
The SDN initiatives involved, not just the sort of the traditional method for, building products and then shipping them out. They had knock-on effects to many parts of the business. So, for example, Application Edge, our new product that allows customers to put Kubernetes and containerized applications out at the edge, means that our network teams, again, operations, have to have a better understanding of applications. That's something that, Verizon as a company has, it's a telecom, right? So it hasn't really paid much attention as it should to the end applications. So it was a challenge, but I think as shown from the success of these products, it was a success.
Eugina, you have written over 45 articles in the last year about the topic of O-RAN. What about O-RAN or technology in general excites you the most at present?
So I'm going to go back to Beth's comment about when you are in the midst of working on something, you don't realize how important it is for the industry. So those 45 articles, they were part of that happening in the midst, creating, innovating. And what excites me about and what fueled my passion to write those 45 articles is the innovation that Open RAN brings to the industry disruption. And that's why I joined Parallel Wireless 8 years ago, to change this industry, excite this industry, think different, like Steve Jobs said. The second thing that excites me about Open RAN is the ecosystem that we're building with our mobile operator partners and the rest of the industry, hardware and software partners. We help to build new business models. And new business models, they lead me to describe the third very important item that excites me about Open RAN is what we're able to do for our customers, for the end users, for the enterprises, for the whole society. This innovation drives supply diversity. As we know, the industry consolidated in the last few years, and we were only left with 3 suppliers. So new suppliers like Parallel Wireless join the ecosystem and bring new technologies in place like hardware and software disaggregation. And that movie has played before in the consumer and enterprise space with Microsoft in the consumer and companies like Red Hat that Susan represents here in the enterprise space.
Now, Susan, and this will be our last question for today. At Red Hat Summit 2021, Edge was very much a major focus on the event, and you announced the Red Hat Edge brand. Can you tell us a bit more about why it's such a priority for your company at present?
Well, I think it's sort of been really interesting, and I can tie maybe a number of things together. Eugina just talked about connecting people, and Dr. E was talking about sustainability and making better decisions, and Beth has been talking about automation of networks. I think what all of this brings together is the ability to connect people, but also to enable new ways of doing things that we'll see at the edge. And I think having the ability to make better decisions closer to where they need to be made brings so many benefits, whether that be reduced power consumption, and all of the great aspects of being more green, whether it be reducing waste with natural resources, being able to grow more agricultural products without using as much resources. I think the pandemic and what that has brought us is a much more aware society of the benefits that connectivity can bring, whether that be through education, whether it be through healthcare, whether it be the way we do things efficiently, because we can't afford to have people involved in some of those processes, whether it be because it's dangerous or the environments aren't great. I see the Edge portfolio that we're bringing out being able to help all of these kind of industries take that next step in terms of providing the kind of workloads that they will be able to deploy and take advantage of, but also in a framework that provides a lot of the security that we're going to need. I think, just looking at the news over the last couple of weeks, particularly in the US, with the number of businesses that are being hacked and these sorts of things, having an environment where, you're focusing on security and making sure that we're doing that at a way that scales at a cost-effective way becomes critical for all enterprises going forward. So I think, the innovation that we're taking into the edge becomes absolutely critical, and it will be something that evolves over time. So, I would say it's a portfolio that is not, ta-da, it's all there. I mean, it's that innovation process that happens now. We have a base that we can start doing things like ORAN, that we can start deploying, sort of automobile OS kind of scenarios. What do we do next, and how do we evolve that over time to take advantage of new businesses and enable new business, I think is the really exciting thing.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today on Telecom TV. That really was a fascinating discussion. Thank you.